everybody, and welcome back. Thank you to those of you who became members. I appreciate it very much, and your next video is indeed coming. I spent about an hour resizing the photographs I took, so we are nearly there. Just watch out for the notification, and I will post an announcement on my community page as well. Okay, on to today's video. I read your comments on my last video, and someone commented that they don't even want to hear about Harry and Meghan because there's so much else happening, and I truly cannot agree more. If only kings were still the type of heroes who led their troops into battle. George II was indeed the last British monarch to lead an army into battle in 1743 during the Battle of Dettingen, or at least that is the general consensus. Gone are the days of brave leaders leading their armies into battle. Today the leaders are all gathered around tables, standing in front of maps and commanding the plebs where to go and what to do. There are very few leaders today who can feel or who actually know the pain of war. I guess there are a few who had been closer to battle or had been in a battle. Maybe people like J.D. Vance, the Vice President of the United States. But I think you know what I mean. No more leaders on their mighty steeds, waving their flags, thumping their chests before the battle begins. The problem is also that weak leaders result in chaos. Then Donald Trump. I apologize for quoting him again for those who do not like him, but he said something very profound, and I'm going to repeat it in the way I remember it. When he was criticized for sending the National Guard into Washington, D.C., he said that his father always said that if you get to someone's house and the front door is dirty, then you don't eat there. Because if the front door is dirty, then the kitchen will also be dirty. And Donald Trump sees Washington, D.C. as the front door of America. Such a simple and clear concept, yet people still do not grasp its meaning, the greater meaning behind it. In my country, there's absolutely no understanding among our leaders when it comes to that particular concept. A concept they do understand well is one best said in Afrikaans, bo blink maar onder stink, which means that someone or something appears good and shiny on the outside, but rotten and corrupt on the inside. The phrase describes hypocrisy or inner rot disguised by a beautiful or successful exterior. And that, ladies and gentlemen, describes many African leaders to a T. They love expensive suits, expensive watches and cufflinks, but behind closed doors you can bribe them with a tub of Kentucky Fried Chicken or a bottle of whiskey, depending on how high up the ranks they are. Of course, like in every other country, we do have the handful of good and sincere guys, but like elsewhere, they are often in the minority. Now, I've said this numerous times. England, Scotland, Ireland are places where I left my heart behind on a number of occasions. The culture, the people, the history, the art. I came alive and I felt human while in England. But so much has changed since I've last been in 2014 that, it feels like I've lost my safety net, my home away from home. And then when I think about it, it is largely because the people, mostly the politicians and the current king, do not understand the two concepts I illustrated minutes ago. Most people, when you say England and ask them to say the first word that comes to mind, will say London, Buckingham Palace, or the royal family. That is the first thing anyone in a foreign country will say when you ask them to say the first word that pops into their heads at the mention of England. So that means that those three things are basically England's front door. Yet neither Keir Starmer, Sadiq Khan or King Charles seems to give a damn. These men do not seem to have the foresight or the instinct to look further than their noses. Because you see, Sadiq Khan's estimated net worth in 2024 was about £4 million. Keir Starmer's estimated net worth is about £7.7 million. And Charles, well, his net worth is somewhere between £2 and £3 billion. Honestly, tell me, why would they care? Do the three of them together have the brain power to, for instance, save the lovely London? It certainly does not appear to be the case. It does not take a genius to know by now that the people of Britain are not exactly enamored with their Prime Minister either, who appears somehow to be, I don't know, in my opinion, a little naive, never mind woke and whatever else. And then there's Charles, King Charles, a man who thinks he's the secret savior of the world. No, actually, really, I do not know what he thinks, but he's certainly not proving his love and loyalty to his own people. In 76 years, he has not learned that you can't love everybody. Sometimes you have to pick a side, and once you've done so, you have to do your best and be loyal to that side. Now, when Charles took his oath, he did in fact pick a side. He picked the side of the British Christian, but today he's neither doing his best nor is he being loyal to the side he picked, namely the British Christian. And it is indeed becoming a problem. In the year ending June 2024, there were 38,784 detected illegal arrivals in the United Kingdom. As of 11th of August, 27,029 migrants had crossed the channel, and I'm talking about August this year, okay? Had crossed the channel in small boats, okay? And that is up from 18,342 for the same period last year. This means also that more than 50,000 migrants have come to the United Kingdom via this particular route, the small boat route, since Labour came to office in July 2024. The thing is that South Africa had the same for years after the ANC came to power. America had the same thing happen under the Biden administration. And the proof is in the pudding. When undocumented people arrive in your country, if they arrive illegally, the crime rate rises. Housing issues rises. State-funded medical services are overrun, overworked and overextended. Utilities such as water, sanitation, electricity becomes an issue. For months, these people has to be clothed and fed and, sorry, At the rate the illegals are now entering the United Kingdom, no country, not even the mighty United States of America, can afford it. To fight and police the crimes committed by these people costs millions to police, and then comes the rest. Now look, I'm not saying all migrants or refugees are bad or that all of them have ulterior motives. Certainly not. But the risk with undocumented arrivals is that you just don't know. You only find out after they committed their first crime. Now, who can forget King Charles's comments on the Rwanda migrant scheme? Indeed, Charles spoke out against the government's new policy of deporting migrants to Rwanda. He said that he was more disappointed at the policy. He said he thought the government's whole approach was appalling. The thing is, what is appalling is allowing parts of London turning into ghettos. What is appalling is that a king who has grandchildren of 8, 10 and 12, yet he does not open his mouth to protect the children of his country, children and women who are currently the main victims of this unchecked infiltration. Now, I read the King's speech of today. I didn't watch the video, I'll do so later, but I got a transcript of it. And I guess there wasn't much to complain about. It is likely a speech he used a few times before, with just a word or two changed here and there, but there was something missing from it, and that was assurance from him that his people will be cared for, celebrated, and safe for as long as he is on the throne. It felt like, sounded like, the king was almost unaware of what is currently happening in his country. But we all know that he can't possibly be. Anyway, guys, that is my 5 cents worth, and please don't get upset with me. Whatever I say comes from a place of love and caring. I hate that people whom I care for are now getting the rough end of the stick. So until we meet again on the next one, please take good care of yourselves and stay safe. Bye.